Hi, this is Brad with Copper Creek Cuts, a lawn care company in Northeast Florida. And in today's video, we're going to look at a recent modification that I did to my truck, and that is the Green Touch Industries hand tool rack with their 45-degree adapter installed into the truck pocket stake adapter, if I got that right. So there's three components that I purchased here. The pocket stake, which actually allows you to fasten something to the truck, then a 45-degree angle bracket, and then the actual rack itself. Now, unfortunately, this installation process was one of the most frustrating projects that I've undertaken. A lot of issues around clarity of instructions, complete lack of instructions, or quality control issues that made it much more difficult for me to install this product. And we're going to take a look at some of those issues so that you can be a little bit more aware if you want to use this same configuration as me. When I'm talking about this setup, I realize that Green Touch makes great equipment. I'm not trying to bash them. I'm not trying to say get Equipment Defender or Jungle Gyms instead. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is that with the project I approached them with, I did a comment on one of their YouTube videos asking for clarification and said, this is what I'm looking for. And they said, yep, looks good, that should work. Now, to be fair, they may just not have had this particular combination, and so they didn't know for sure, and they were just overeager in the applications that their products could be used in. But there were so many issues and frustrating things with this. When we look at the pocket stake, the instructions that are included do not actually represent the hardware that you receive. In addition, the only video that Green Touch has, it doesn't really show the full installation process for this unit. They do the highlights, but they gloss over the real details. So what this actually led to was I installed it the way that I interpreted the instructions to, and that was actually an incorrect way, because what happened was when I installed it that way, this pocket stake bowed out. When you've got something like this that just goes straight up, that bow is just going to get worse and worse as the length increases. So that was no good. So I had to uninstall it, and this is another reason why I think they gloss over the instruction video. It's very difficult. It's simple, but it is not easy. You're trying to fit nuts and bolts underneath very low clearance areas where you can drop them into this stake. You've got to sort out washers and kind of thread them. I actually had to get a magnet so I could fish the washers where they were supposed to be, because you just can't get your hand in there. For me to install it and then have to take it all apart and practice for a new way to install it so that it stood plumb and it wasn't skewed off to the side following those directions, it did not make me happy. So once I put 3 or 4 of my own washers on the inside, and then the washer they provided on the inside, and then I had to supply another washer for the outside, I finally got the pocket stake to stand up pretty straight. And so that was more or less the end of my frustrations there. The next step is installing this 45-degree bracket. The photography shows this as being coated in black, so that's what I was expecting. You can see it's just a bare metal. In addition to that, there was, I wouldn't necessarily say a significant amount of rust, but there was quite a bit of rust present on the inside of this. Was it just stored improperly, and they aren't usually like that? Is that just a side effect of them not coating this the way it's supposed to be? I don't know, so I can't speak to that. Here's the big rub. This didn't come with any instruction. They include instructions on how to install this adapter with the pocket stake kit, but it's only one sentence, and it basically says that this attaches to this. Maybe there's a little bit more technicality, but it's not any more useful. This bracket comes with 2 different sets of bolts, 2 crush washers, and 2 nylock nuts. There is no indication of what bolts go where. There's no indication where the crush washers go. There's no indication where the nylock nuts go. On top of that, there is no mention of how the bolts that come with this unit, there's 2 bolts that come with this, there's no mention of how those bolts interact with any of these 3 pieces. So they really leave it up to you, and it's an incredibly frustrating situation to deal with. This was a 2.5-hour project. It should have taken half an hour at most, in my opinion. On my Colorado, there are not very many places that this can fit. I can't put it on the front pocket stakes because then it's either hitting the cab or I'm gonna lose a ton of my storage racks. So that means it can only go here. If I turned it the other way, I was afraid that the wheel well would create some clearance issues, and that also some of these top racks would actually slide out past the tailgate. So if somebody's response to that is, well, you're supposed to mount it along that truck rail system that they have. That solves a lot of the issues, because then you don't just have 2 spots to mount it, you have a whole bar to mount it, and you can really get it where it's supposed to. But Green Touch markets this as a standalone product. That's what I'm testing. That's the application I'm using this for. If I were to take this 45-degree bracket out and just mount it regular, I still couldn't mount it towards the front because there's not enough room. I could mount it back here, but then I think I would lose 2 or even 3 of these racks. You see, I can't use this one because it's already hitting against this. The question some people have asked is, can you close the trunk lid? Well, yes, just barely. Millimeters to spare. Now, the rack itself, the only complaint on this is a super minor one, that there was some of that styrofoam congealed onto it, and I'd have to clean it off myself with soap and water, which I do appreciate. They put a sticker on the box that says, hey, look, if this happens, you know, all you need is soap and water, and I appreciate that. I still feel like, you know, putting a 1 or 2 cent plastic insert between where the rack is touching and where the styrofoam is in the shipping container, that would probably be a better marketing idea, better delivery system than having the end user have to clean up that mess. But again, that's a minor issue. As far as the rack itself, this piece is really, really nice. There's one more thing that was an issue here. There's actually nuts welded into this for attaching. Those nuts, I don't know if they welded it on a Friday or something, but there was something in there that when I was installing this myself, I could not get those bolts to turn. I was convinced they had sent me the wrong size bolts. So I went up to Ace Hardware and says, look, I've got 2 sets of bolts, I've got washers, I've got nuts, I've got this guy that has these 2 nuts welded in, and I don't know how these go. So they fuddled around with it for 5 or 10 minutes, and finally they figured out that, you know, they put some torque on it, which I was just using hand tools in an awkward situation, and I didn't want to strip any threads, or, you know, I didn't know what I was doing because there's no instructions. So finally they loosened it up, and it turns out that both of them were just really tight. So they loosened it up, but it ended up working out in the end. But again, because I didn't have those instructions, I was convinced they had sent me the incorrect size bolts. So final thoughts, I am happy with this. I'm very frustrated with the installation process. Should this stop you from buying it? Well, no. If you want, you know, a tool rack on your truck and you only want to spend $160 for it, this is going to be the option. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to do some extra work. You're going to have to buy some extra hardware. You're going to be frustrated with the install process. Now let's talk about, if you want to do this for cheaper yourself, how you can. This is really the critical component right here to mounting this on your truck, these pocket stakes. They're about $20 after shipping, you know, maybe you're looking at $25. If you get this from Green Touch, which this is the cheapest place I found it, you can do a couple of things. Equipment Defender has their own, it's black coated. It's about $40 cheaper than this one. If you want to mount it the same way I do, then buy the pocket stake and the 45-degree adapter from Green Touch, and then the $60 rack from Equipment Defender. Even with double shipping from 2 companies, you're still going to save between $30 and $40 on the whole project. If you're partial to this color, or everything else you have is Green Touch Industries, so you're partial to that brand, if you go to, I believe it's ballardincorporated.com, they are a reseller of a lot of lawn care and landscaping products, and they actually have this for, I believe, $80 or $90 versus the $120, I think, if you get it directly through Green Touch. So that's one way you can get the same stuff and save a little bit of money. If you have any questions or you think I misinterpreted any of this, let me know in the comments and let me know your thoughts. I'd love to have a discussion about it. If you'd like to see more videos, please consider subscribing and making sure to click the notification bell. Otherwise, YouTube won't let you know whenever I upload new videos. If you'd like to see another product demonstration video, you can view one of those there. Or if you'd just like to see a messy yard get cleaned up, you can view one of those there. In any case, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it.